Welcome back to episode 2. We made it to
Woo!
number 2. I am so excited that we are really rolling with this
We're
and
doing
we're
it.
going to stick with it, right?
Yes, we got this.
So, welcome to episode 2 of Farm Bells. I forgot it for a second.
Oh, so you're just so
Farm
used to
Bells.
saying it.
I know. It's different saying it, but I love it. I think it's a really cute name.
Me too.
So, I'm April from With My Hands Homestead, and this is my co host.
Molly from the Feltz Farm.
And today we thought we would switch it up a little bit and talk chickens. We started talking last episode. I felt like we were going to get off on a really big tangent with the chickens because we have so much to say about them.
We were close, but we both knew that this would be a good topic for its own podcast.
Exactly. So I think we can go ahead and start talking about kind of our experience with chickens and how we started with them, which I talked a little bit about last time.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear more about you guys and going from how you started with chickens and why you got them and why you got your breeds to kind of where you are now.
Yeah. So specifically egg layers is what we're talking.
Yes,
so
true.
We started with, like I said last time, the 14 laying hens, and they were great. They were awesome chickens and we loved them. And it kind of like spiral affected into the rest of the farm animals. And I had originally wanted the rainbow chicken package, all the colors of eggs, the blues, the greens, the dark browns, the whites, the tans, like everything. And the ones that Jacob came home with they only laid light brown eggs, which was still like a novelty to me.
Right.
I'm just used to like plain store-bought cheap white eggs. And so I was excited to even just have those. But then the want got bigger. Like I really wanted, like they were beautiful brown. And I was like, imagine what the blues would look like. So then we started talking like, what kind of chickens do we really want? And like, we started researching like temperaments and like how many eggs they laid per year, because like female humans, chickens are born with the amount of eggs that they will ever lay. So whether you give them a heat lamp in the winter to make them lay more eggs, they'll just lay less years, if that makes sense. So like they're going to lay what they're going to lay. So we would look at like the production that they would have, their temperament, and the color. And I'm trying to think. So we kind of just grew our flock like randomly. We just got a few here, a few there from like Facebook Marketplace, or he'd buy them at like Tractor Supply or whatever. And there was a lady actually down the road that hatched chickens. So we bought like some chicks from her, and it was all just like a barnyard mix of chicks. And so we got some blue ones, we got pretty ones, had a few roosters. And the flock was beautiful, and they were totally free ranged in our backyard. And I loved that. And that was like my dream, to look out the kitchen window, and see all of my egg layers and chickens just running everywhere. And I loved it until I realized with all those animals comes all the poop. And there was so much poop on my back porch, all over the backyard, all over all the kids' things, all the flies that came with it. And so then but I was overwhelmed with 3 kids in the farm, and I was like, the poop and the chickens were like, that was like the drawing point. Yeah. I was like, these chickens have to go. So we sold our whole flock. We still had ducks and other things, so we were still getting eggs, but we kind of took a break from chickens.
But you had like 100 chickens, right? Like you had a lot.
We had it was like 60, 70 running around. Yeah, there was like 60, not 70. Just like a normal amount of chickens in the backyard. There was like a lot of egg layers going on.
Yeah, but the coop that you had was a whole shed. Like, wasn't it a shed? Like
it was actually, we had to convert, because remember, Jacob came home with these chickens and we had no place to put them. And so we were like, well, we have this shed in the backyard. Let's turn it into a coop. And it's like a huge walk-in shed. We had, it had like wood floors. We put chicken wire everywhere. There was roost all over the place. Since we had sold the flock, now we have converted that into a man cave because it's so big. Like this,
really?
Yes, there's a pool table, there's a projector, we have a dartboard, it's like a whole vibe in there.
Goodness.
It's cool. It went from like old broken shed to like beautiful chicken mansion is what we called it. And then
Yeah.
now it's like a cool man cave. So
Interesting. I hope you use that when
we
Jacob's on
do.
his business trips.
We use it all the time because dates are so hard. So it's
Yeah.
actually really fun. But
Cool.
we the chickens in the backyard were not for me, I decided.
Yeah.
And but of course I still want chickens. Like I love them. I just did not want them that close to me. So then we started thinking, like, we loved having the eggs. We were selling eggs. So we were making like offsetting some cost of feed bags and stuff that way. And we were just trying to think of like what we could do. And Jacob, my little entrepreneur Facebook marketplace finder man, had found three, oh, I forget what they're called. They're huge hatchers and incubators. There's one hatcher and three incubators, but they're huge. They're like name brand, they're massive. And he got them all pretty much for the price of one. And the first year that we had those was like 3 years ago, probably. And we were hatching chicks and selling them like crazy. And we loved that. This was all kind of at the same time. I know I'm kind of sporadic here, but the egg layers, we had a few roosters in there. So we were hatching and selling barnyard mixes. So we were making money from hatching chicks and from getting their eggs. But then when we sold the whole flock, obviously the whole thing stopped. We took a break for about a year, and then we started thinking about, the future and what eggs do we want and how we're going to like hatch and sell actual like purebred chickens. So then that's when we kind of started researching egg colors, production, temperament, that kind of thing. And we ended up ordering from McMurray Hatchery, I think. We ended up with speckled Sussex, white leghorns, Easter eggers, olive eggers, black copper Marans, and then we got some turkeys because with those, it gave us pretty much the whole rainbow. And it's funny, like I remember when he brought home all the brown layers and stuff and we had brown and blue, I kind of wanted a white egg to pop in there. And which is so funny because when we first started, I was like, never give me a white egg again. This is like bottom of the totem pole. Like I do not want white eggs. But now they make the colors pop.
They do.
And our white leghorns are the best layers. Right now, the chickens are molting and they are still laying. And they're the sweetest. They are the absolute best chickens, number one by far on my list. But so we got a whole array, all my dream chickens, and I love them, and we still have them. So we built in the barn, we have 8 like pens that Jacob built. And so they're not free range technically, but I mean, they live the life. We give them scraps, they're healthy. It's a big place. They're fine. But it's not like the free range chickens that I had dreamed of. But if you want to have purebred chickens, you have to keep the roosters and the hens together. They have to be separate. So we have the 8 pens in the back now. And we've had them for 2 years now. And so we've been hatching and selling these chicks and chickens. And each year we'll keep a couple and throw them in there so the production stays up. And we'll probably keep doing that for a long time. We eat those eggs and sell those too. But then when February, March comes around, we start to sell them. And I love it. I love our little chicken business that we have going. And we also, within that chicken little business, we hatched all those chicks and I kept some for myself to rebuild our new flock because I do miss having chicks running around everywhere. But we have a new plan so they can be free ranged and we can sell like the totally organic free ranged eggs and just the better quality of life for them anyways. They're going to be in our milk cow's pasture. So they can scratch through all of her poop and be with her. And since I'm out there daily, I'll be able to like hang out with my chickens too. And so it'll be kind of the best of both worlds. So I know that was kind of all over the place. So currently we have 8 stalls in the barn with all of the 5 different chicken breeds, the turkeys that we have, the bourbon reds. Is it red bourbon or bourbon red? I always get it backwards.
Bourbon reds.
Bourbon reds. And then we have the 2 pins on each one are my teenage chicks that are going to be going out to Marley's pasture. And we still sell eggs. And then, like I said, we'll start hatching again in February-ish, March-ish. And that lasts through till I get tired of it. And then Future plans, I do want a few more breeds. Like, there's a few that we don't have that I want. Like, we don't have Rhode Island Reds anymore, and I kind of want
Hmm.
them back. And Barred Rocks, like the classics. And there's just a few others that I want just because I want them.
Yeah.
But we do have the rainbow egg package, and it's like beautiful. I will say though, the Black Copper Marans, I had such high hopes for, and their eggs are beautiful, but they are the worst layers ever and the worst hatchers. Even if
Hmm.
all the chicks that will hatch, they have the most like non-survival rate out of all of them.
Yeah. I actually have had the same experience. I probably won't even mention this in my story because it's such a little blip, but when I was like really like into it, I went to a very not necessarily well known, but very reputable breeder. I won't say who it is, but
I
I will tell
remember.
you off camera. Um,
I
and they're
remember.
known for like the darkest, like deep
Hmm.
chocolate brown eggs. And I spent $125 on these eggs for 12 of them, and not one hatched. And now they did ship, and it was our first year hatching chicks, but we had done like 7 hatchings since then.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily think it was on our end. I don't know. I'm not putting blame on them, but I feel like that accurately depicts the terrible. And even we did like a little investigation in it, like after I think we kept them for like a week after they should have hatched, just in case.
Right.
And a lot of them didn't look like they even started. And I think only out of the 12, I think it was 13, like 3 of them started developing, and one was like halfway.
Wow.
And it was very disappointing.
That
And
is disappointing because
I'm,
like we've thought about selling like hatching eggs,
mhm,
and I didn't feel comfortable. Like, I felt like a bad person trying to sell those because the hatch rate was so bad.
yeah,
So like that is a very that like
real.
it's just kind of like a scam, just not cool that they did that because
Yeah.
if you hatch Black Copper Marans, they suck at hatching.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
to
I do.
charge so much and
Yes.
to say that they're going to be so great and
Yeah.
hatch perfectly.
Yeah, and I was on a wait list for them too. I was so excited about them. So I'm, in the very far future, if I ever get the itch again, I would
Right.
probably just order chicks, which I'm
Hmm.
sure are way even more expensive than that. Not getting 12 of them, I'll tell you that.
Right. But really.
Yeah.
So I
Uh,
know my story was kind of all over the place. It's just so hard to remember.
it
It's
is hard
only
to
been
remember.
5 years, but like the timeline of how things go, it just gets so jumbled. But we've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love it. And it's funny because I've only been to their farm one time, and it was 3 years. It had to have been 3 years ago,
Yes.
and that was right. But because I can remember everything so vividly, it was right before COVID. I don't remember. I don't
Yes.
remember if we did it in 2020 in the early. I can't remember, but because I felt like both of us, you guys more so, had gotten into the chick hatching at
Yes.
exactly the right time, because very soon after that is when people wanted chickens and they wanted them now, and everything was shutting down,
Yeah.
and the eggs weren't in the grocery store.
The first
Um,
year, you're right. The
mhm.
first year, we were just hatching like the chicks that we had in the backyard.
Yeah,
Like, they were
barnyard
like barnyard
people.
mix,
Hmm.
and we were making so much money off of
Yeah.
them. Like, we
Hmm.
couldn't even keep enough. Like, we were hatching hundreds of chicks. Like, we
Yeah.
just kept it going. The incubators can hold like 300
Yeah.
eggs or
Yours.
something per one. And we had 900 eggs. Like, we were just
Yeah.
popping them out. Like, the business was huge. Recently, I mean, we still sell out, but it's not like the demand is there, but it's not like it was.
No.
Like, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
people wanted, and yeah. And I felt like we haven't sold chicks in a really long time. I think we only did them that one year. And it wasn't as big of a deal for people to, number one, have barnyard mix, which is just
Yeah.
a mix, like no specific breed, just a mix. They didn't care. and the run wasn't as big of a deal. And I felt like more recently people want a breed, understandably, and
Right.
like they want like kind of guaranteed pullets. And I
Yeah.
understand that. I want that too. I
Right.
hate a straight run, but it is what it is. Um, it's just such a different time now.
That is the hard part. Like we try to sell them like immediately when they hatch so I
Hmm.
can sell them straight run because after about like a week or so, like I can tell and then
Yeah.
I can't just be the bad person and just give roosters to
I
someone,
know.
you know? And
Right.
so then I end up with like 20 roosters. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what's the point of me hatching all these if I'm stuck with all these
I know.
roosters that I don't
Exactly.
need because we also have meat birds?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah, there's pros and cons. I really enjoyed it though. They're just so
They're
cute. They're
so cute.
so
And
adorable.
it is still profitable. I actually just had
Hmm.
someone message me on Facebook like a couple days ago, and she was like, she had bought chicks previously, and she was like, "Hey, do you have any more chickens right now?" And I'm like trying to be like a good, you know, farm business and say
Yeah.
yes, but also like selfishly, I barely have any good chickens left for me. Like I think
Yeah.
out of all the ones I hatched, I think I only have two black copper Maria hens back there. We have a couple
Yeah.
roosters, but I mean, we hatched like 1,000 chicks this year, and
Oh my
I
gosh.
keep two black copper Marians for myself. And the point was for me to grow my flock,
Right.
but I kept selling them.
Yeah. How dark are your Marian's eggs?
um, So we keep five hens and a rooster back there. So four of the eggs are the perfect chocolate, dark brown
Ooh.
egg, beautiful. One of them is lighter and speckled.
Okay, I've had two black copper Marians, and every one that I've had has not been dark, but they have been speckled.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
And then there is one or two that are dark and speckled, but the four have a
Ooh.
beautiful color. The one, it's not like it's a bad color. It's just not
Yeah,
your classic black copper Marian
right.
color that you think of.
Interesting. The
But
one
I
that I
kind of
have,
love that. Like I love
yeah.
like the random cool colored eggs.
Yes.
Like we get like a pink Easter egger,
Oh
couple
yeah.
like pretty blue ones, which is why we chose Easter egger over Americana because Americana is just plain pretty blue, which it
Mhm.
is a beautiful blue, and we've had those in the past too, and their temperament is good too. But I wanted the like randomness of the
Right.
Easter eggers,
Yeah.
and if for
Oh.
like breeding in the future, you never know like what kind you're gonna get. It's a fun
Yeah.
game.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to come to your house and get some chickens in the spring. You're making
I
me want more.
know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we got I had bought a Well Summer, and Well Summers are more known for their speckle, like they're a little bit darker egg and they're known for their speckles.
They're on my list.
But and I had two, and one of them was like a traditional speckled egg, and the other one ended up being a pink egg. It was a dark egg with a very, very heavy bloom. And so it
Oh,
looked pink and it was
yes.
really, really cool.
Those are really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so what's your chicken laying
Yeah,
background?
I know. So I'm went into it a little bit. So when we had the first shutdown and we were getting wind of the first shutdown, it was around my birthday in
Hmm.
2020. And I said, Nate, for my birthday, I want you to build me a chicken coop. And before he had finished the coop, I bought the chicks because it was going to be a shutdown. It was going to be a shutdown and we couldn't get
You
them.
had to get them.
Yeah. So we were already in the homesteading world. We had the sheep, we had a cow, had the garden. I was pretty active on Instagram at that time.
Hmm.
So I had done research. I love watching videos. So I felt pretty prepared. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew some stuff about chickens. I knew about breeds. And at that time, because it was just like COVID and we wanted it for eggs. Was it, if you remember in the very beginning, it was really freaking scary.
Yeah.
Like we
It
thought
was
there were going to
scary.
be like guards everywhere guarding you at your house.
Seriously.
Literally, yeah. So I went to Tractor Supply and I knew I couldn't go crazy. So, and they also had a 3 chick minimum for each breed. It couldn't just be like
For
a total.
each breed?
Yeah, at ours it was for each breed. So I got 3 Easter eggers and 3 Buff Orpingtons. And of course, I know I mentioned it last time, but out of those 6, only 2, I got 1 hen of the Easter eggers and 1 hen of Buff Orpingtons. And I think I can't
Classic.
remember now but I do think those were the only two breeds they had available. They might have had one other one, but I didn't really have much of a selection, but I was kind of happy with that. From the beginning, I wanted the rainbow layers. I thought that was so cool, and I just loved it. So I was happy about that. So my husband built our coop, and it's not like your chicken mansion. It's not like shed size, but it's pretty large. I
It
mean,
is.
I think it's like, I want to say like a 6 by 8, like a 4 by, no, maybe like a 5 by 5
I mean,
area.
it looks big. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't seen
it's,
it in person, but like it looks big and like, I mean, it's got a run, it's got everything. It's like a
yeah,
perfect like you could go to Tractor Supply and buy it, but like
yeah.
it looks
It's a
beautiful.
little,
It's great.
yeah, it's interesting. He had, I do love it. Yeah, it's very tall. And the point was he put it up really high up. It's like almost like on stilts, to help with the predators and some other reason that I can't remember. Oh,
Smart.
so that we could get underneath it to clean it easier.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it would be easier. Yeah, he had a purpose for it, but it's a little untraditional looking.
Oh, you
uh,
should see our duck coop. It's like got a tarp. It's like made out of pallets. Not everything is picture
uh,
perfect.
yeah, but I mean, it's nice, and it's actually probably bigger than like 5 by 5. I don't know. I don't remember, but it could fit. I would say like in the coop itself, it would fit like 30 birds comfortably, like
Mm,
very
it's pretty big.
comfortably. It's pretty big. And then we have a run that extend. I mean, that thing's probably like 20 feet long. I mean, we have, I would say, a good sized chicken area. It's not
Yeah.
gigantic. We had first started out free ranging because we have a couple acres, and our neighbors all have chickens too. So it's like, they free range and their chickens come on our property.
Mm,
So it hadn't been that big of a deal. Um, and at that time we were growing out those 6 chickens, and we free range for a while, but like you mentioned, them getting on the porch, and that's where I like to hang out, and just the poop everywhere, and them getting in the landscaping, them getting in my garden because my garden is pretty
yeah.
close by. Um, they would try and get in the road. Like it was just kind of a lot. And then they would
Yes.
like get all up in the electric fence, and it was just it as much
Like
as
it
I
sounds all dreamy and
mhm.
romantic to have these free range chickens, but like for our sanity and their safety, we kind of have to
Yes.
protect them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is we never had predator issues at that time. And I don't know why, because we have a lot of woods around.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but we never, until 2 years ago, we never lost a chicken. And that all of the chickens that we have lost to predators have been in a chicken tractor. So that,
Interesting.
yeah, strange. Um, so we started with that. We kept the 2 hens, obviously. And then I also ventured onto the chicken websites like McMurray. What's the other one? There are a couple of them that are big.
I know, I'm blanking right
Oh,
now.
wow. If you have chickens, you probably know. But online, if you don't know, just like I didn't at one time, I didn't know you could order chickens online through a
I did not know
catalog.
that they would just come in the mail
They
in
just
a
come
big
in the
box.
mail. Exactly. You
And
can go,
apparently they've been doing that in America since like 19, like 40, 50, like a really,
yeah,
really long time.
it's
They've
crazy.
been
It's
mailing
like,
chicks.
but you know what? Every time I go to the post office with an order of chicks, I always get like weirdly embarrassed, or like I'm
Me
worried
too.
they don't know what to do, even though I know it happens all the time. Um, oh my gosh, I'll have to tell an adjacent story. But so we went on the website, and they also have minimums that you have to meat in order so that the chickens can stay warm. So we we ended up, all that to say, we got leghorns. My husband was he didn't care about the
The
rainbow stuff
rainbow
like
egg
I
color.
did. He's like, we need the
Just
production,
eggs, right.
which fair enough. And I am
Yeah.
very glad that he did that because I also love the leghorns.
Hmm.
Ours, I would not say they're friendly for ours had been very bird like very flighty, very easily startled, just like Like what you think of a chicken, they are chicken.
Yeah, not like a pet.
No, yeah, and yeah, they were kind of crazy and they were nasty and dirty, but they would produce no matter, and they had the biggest eggs. I mean, oh my
Beautiful.
gosh. Yeah, we loved the Leghorns. We will always have Leghorns. Ironically, we don't have any at the moment, but we will be getting some.
Agree. We will always have them too.
So we had the Leghorns. I had a black copper Moran. I had 2 Welsumers. I had another Easter egger. I had a Lakeshore, which I think that might be one breeder specific. I don't know if Lakeshore is like a big breeder, if that breeder just is specialty, whatever. But they're supposed to lay a greenish egg. Like that's what they were bred for, more of like the blue greeny. But mine ended up laying brown. So that was unfortunate, but it's how it happens.
Yeah.
Just like a boring brown.
Plain old tan egg.
Yep. We got a Barred Rock. I don't know why I got a Barred Rock. Just a random.
Because when you get into chickens, they look so like exotic, and you're like, I have to get a Barred Rock. But they're like, I mean, they're good. They were friendly. Ours were great, but like nothing special. You know, they also lay a plain brown egg.
Yeah, and they're good layers, but they weren't the best. Yeah, I mean, she was fine. She was the sweetest. I liked her personality was the best of all of them. So we had those, and did I say black copper Moran? I think that's okay. I think those are all the ones that I ordered. And those I had had a first run with those, and when we went to pick them up at the post office, this sweet worker, and it's a small town, there was only like 2 postal workers, and she was like, don't let your children be present when you open this. If you need me to write a letter to the hatchery to verify how many chickens arrived, I will. This. And at first I didn't know what because I had my kids with me and they were all excited for the chickens, and I was just so thankful she handled it that way, because she could have just,
was really sweet.
She could have just handed that to me and we would have opened a box full of deceased chicken. I think at that time I had ordered 10 and only like 4 survived, and it was like a fluke. It was a weird thing. They had a partition in the box. It was like a cardboard box that had fallen over. So let your imagination run wild with that. It was gross, but I was so thankful she said that, and I will never forget that. And I'm like, that was really sweet. Is someone that went above and beyond and did not have to do that.
Right.
So that was fine. I mean, it wasn't fine, but
Shitty experience.
It was crappy. We do have to watch our mouth on the podcast, I realized. Yes, Molly.
I've been working on it so bad.
I had meant to text you when I was uploading everything for the last episode. It was like, do you want to mark this as an explicit episode? And I was like, no. And under it was like, if there's one or more instances of profanity, like within all these terrible things, I'm like, oh no,
that is so funny. That's awful. Okay,
so, I'm just joking. It's not a big deal, but I did have to tell you.
Sad experience for you.
So if anyone was wondering why the last episode is explicit, we're not talking about
that.
Anything.
I didn't know that. That is so funny.
I didn't either. Oh,
okay.
So yeah,
Anyways.
It was a not good experience, but long story long, I reordered, and all of them they all survived the second time. So we just had like double of a couple. So that's how we ended up with like 21 chickens when I only wanted 10. And for a while that worked great. We had more than enough eggs. I mean, we were swimming in eggs. They were beautiful. They were amazing. They were everything I dreamed of. Like we mentioned, my black copper Moran was not a dark color, but it was speckled, and that was pretty cool, especially because my Welsummer, who I had gotten for the speckled eggs, was not speckled. So they kind of balanced each other out. The Welsummer was the one that turned out pink.
And what you don't think about is like, you're like 20 chickens, like not that much, but then like that's about like 20 eggs a day, give or take, like it adds up. Like a week
Yeah.
of eggs on your counter is like dozens.
Yes. Yes. And we ran into that. And I also wanted to ask you, how did you guys advertise for the eggs? Because Nate, what we had done at that time, it was just more like family and friends, and then
Hmm.
like friend adjacent. Like Nate's hockey team would always buy a lot. The people at my work like to buy them. We didn't really advertise. And we still felt like we were drowning in it. But you guys had so many chickens. You guys must have done something.
No, it was kind of the same. Jacob would bring
Wow.
them to work. Like my parents' friends are just friends from like high school and college, like people that we knew from Charlotte. Everybody, because like you said, like it was just at the right time where
Mhm.
everybody was wanting and needing food.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just all worked out like in our favor that, I mean, he would take 20 dozen eggs to work on a Monday and sell them to people at work, or like he would do drop offs
Yeah.
everywhere, which is what he usually does, is like Monday or Tuesday, he'll take all the eggs and go drop them off to everybody's house. And it was really just like family and friends. And then through Instagram, a lot of people are actually like close by. And so
Yeah.
they would meet, or he would drop them off. And it really was the same situation as y'all. It was just like people that we knew that wanted to know where their eggs came from.
Cool. That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
it was like a boatload of eggs. There was like a lot of eggs.
Yeah. How do you guys keep track of like the oldest
The
and the
days.
newest? Yeah.
I when we're like in the heat of it, like right now we're barely getting eggs, so
Right.
and they're just for our consumption, but like when it picks back up, I have to package them daily and then just keep like the oldest ones on top and then put the new cartons on the bottom, and then he'll take the whole week's worth to work on the next week and just
Okay.
sell all of them.
Yeah. Our family needs to get in a better system of it because it's just, we're in a rush so much. We just get lazy with it. And like,
Do
we
you do
don't,
like carton returns? Do people give you the cartons back and stuff?
yes, but we
We
haven't
do too.
sold in a while.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't sold in a while. It went down, I can't remember now, but there was one point where I think Nate just started to get really busy and we weren't like talking to people as much and we weren't like putting ourselves out there as much. Um so yeah, we haven't sold in a while, but even just for our own consumption, it's like, wait a second, which, because
Which
I hate to
one?
write on the cartons because we reuse them. Um but anyway, that's a us problem. We'll
We
figure that
we
out.
go through so many eggs. I mean, the kids, when I make eggs in the morning, I make like 8 or 10 eggs and they eat all of them.
Wow.
The
Really?
kids, yes, they eat so much food. And so we have that like spiral egg thing,
Yeah.
on the kitchen counter,
Hmm.
and it like barely stays full. So I just take from the bottom and cook, and
Maybe I should try that too. And you keep it on the
because
counter. You can eat them
that
quick
like
enough.
those
Yeah.
are like my personal use. I usually sell, because we try to, like when we sell the ones, I like gently, I don't wash them, I'll like
Right.
brush the poop off or use a washcloth and
Hmm.
like make them look pretty, because
Yeah.
most city slickers don't like to open a carton of poop filled eggs. So I give the pretty ones away, and then the like super gross ones, because if you don't have chickens, they get gross, guys. Like
Yeah.
they just do. A lot of eggs get gross. And if
Yeah.
you wash them, then you have to keep them in the refrigerator.
Hmm.
And so I just keep the poopy ones in my little spiral on the counter for us. And then I like clean up the other ones to sell.
I might have to do. I think that's a good. Maybe I'll get a spiral thing. I
It's
think that would be a
helpful
good.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, then I know the bottom's the oldest.
Right. Right. And even if it's just some of them, it's less
Yeah.
volume to have to like package and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like it. We've gotten into a good system of it. And I miss having my layers laying. Like
I know.
they've been molting for like 2 weeks, and it's just that time of year. It just slows down, and they're getting older. Like
Hmm.
they're 2 or almost 3, and a couple young ones. But I really want to get into water glassing eggs,
Hmm.
because last week we had no eggs, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, you're going to have to buy eggs at the store. And he had to. And I was like, this is ridiculous. We have like 65 chickens in the barn and we have like 3 eggs on the counter from the
Yeah.
Leghorns because they're
Yeah.
awesome.
Exactly. I know that would be cool. Yeah. Our production is terrible. Well, so I guess that can continue my story. So we had
Yeah, so we got way off track. Let's go back.
we had like 21 chickens, beautiful layers, selling eggs, rolling in eggs. It was great. But then we got into breeding the chickens because now we're in COVID and people are asking for eggs, people are asking for chickens, people are like asking us for these things. We're like, you know what? We have it, so let's do it. And we got incubators and we started hatching our own. We did barnyard mixes, which I love it when people want that. It's so easy.
Me too.
And then I got a little ambitious, and I do not remember how I ended up with a black copper Moran rooster. I don't remember how I ended up with one, but we ended up getting one black copper Moran rooster so that we could breed black copper Morans. And we did leghorns. We did black copper Morans. We did leghorns. We did Easter eggers. And those were the ones, and then barnyard mixes. And that was great. It was so much fun. We loved it. People loved it. We loved it. I loved the barnyard mixes because the colors that you would get were so cool. And we ended up doing a really
chicks.
Yes. We ended up doing a project for some of our friends over in Elizabeth City, and they have like they have a really, really big farm project, and they sell a lot of meat and beef and stuff. And they weren't into egg laying, but they wanted to be. So they bought like 200 chicks from us. So we would do big batches. And that was just so much fun because they just wanted eggs. So it was a lot of barnyard mixes. So that was a really fun project. I'm glad we got to do that. And then we slowed down with that. I'm trying to think of what. So we did that, super big into chickens, had a bunch of them, selling a bunch of them. Then winter, and then the next year is when we started to kind of get a little burnt out. And that was the year that we had done all the meat burns, which we'll talk about at another time. But we were kind of sick of chickens after the summer of 2021 and 2022. We just did too much. And so we had put a lot of money into this stuff, which was fine at the time, but at that time we weren't having a lot of income come in from the farm, but we were still putting out the same that we had been. So it had started out with cutting corners of, because I used to like buy them little treats and throw out sunflower seeds and do the little wormy things and grow the grass and do all that. So I stopped doing that, and then I stopped buying like the premium feed and because it was starting to get really expensive. That's
it adds up.
It does. And finally we were just like, and then there was a weird thing where they started eating their own eggs, because I also got lazy with that, and I accidentally taught them how to eat their eggs, or something like that. I mean, I don't know how they first started. It could have been a fluke, but I know they always tell you to like bake the eggshells before you feed them back and things like that. And so I stopped doing that, and I would just like crumble up the egg for them when I would have eggshells. Anyway, somehow they started eating their own eggs, and that turned into a total disaster. So this past summer is when it used to be like one or two that would do that. And of course it was the leghorns, because those are the ones that I wanted to keep. And so we started to dwindle with our egg production, because we used to be getting a dozen a day. And this past summer, it would be like 4 a day, 0 one day, 2 another day. And we're like, this can't be right. So I knew that sometimes they would eat their eggs, because you could see the yolk all over their little face.
Yes.
Like, you can see it. You can see the mess. You can see, when.
And then in their like nesting box, there's always like,
And so I'm like, crap, this isn't just like a couple time thing. They're eating their eggs, and they like it.
This is the new normal.
Yeah, this is what they do. They make their own food, and they know it. And so we started trying to remedy the problem. So we re-put in the fake eggs, ceramic eggs, trick 'em, whatever.
Yep.
That worked for a while, and then it stopped working. I would move them around. I did all the things, I swear. We got eggs, we emptied them like an Easter egg and put mustard in them, because online it says that they hate mustard. So we filled
Really?
real eggs with mustard, and they would still eat them, and we would watch them eat them, and you could tell they hated it because they would like shake their little face
And
to
they're
like
like
get it
doing
off.
it in spite of you
Yes.
now.
And they're like, must eat the eggs.
Like, I have to finish.
Yes. And it was just so bizarre. And so then we were like, okay, we're going to have to get rid of the ones that are doing it, because we're not getting any eggs, and this isn't like,
They're
we're not
eating the other chicken's eggs.
Yes. And so we had, it broke our heart, but we had to get rid of the leghorns. We could tell the ones that would like, they would literally wait around the nesting box, or like,
Yeah.
when's dinner coming? And we
We
would
had the
feed
same
them more.
problem.
Like I gave them treats, like I gave them flock block things to peck at so that they're
Yeah.
not bored. I did all the things that you have on the internet.
Mhm.
So we got rid of half of them, and it still kept happening. And we were like, crap, this sucks. So we got rid of everyone except for Dogbed. Dogbed is the original Easter egger that I got it during COVID. And she was our very first egg ever. She laid our very first egg ever on the farm. And she laid it, she kept getting out of the coop.
I was going to say, she was your problem
She was our
child for a
problem.
while.
She kept getting out of the coop, and that's why she's named Dogbed, because she laid her very first egg in our dog bed on our porch.
But has she calmed down in her old years?
Yes, now that she's elderly, she doesn't really get it. Well, I say that, but we kept her because she would still get out, so she wouldn't eat the eggs because she was laying somewhere else. So that ended up being her saving grace of why she got to stay, because she got out so much.
And funny.
Yeah, so she never learned to eat her eggs. Sorry, I lost my voice earlier in the week, and now that I've been talking for 45 minutes, it's going away, so bear with me.
Okay.
But so we had Dogbed, and we just so happened, oh my gosh, I left out a huge thing that we'll have to go into another time. When we were doing all the hatching,
I was going to ask about the experiment.
Yes, we simultaneously, because we do everything too much.
Yep.
We had a breeding operation. We were I hate to say developing, but we were kind of developing our own meat bird, and we were using like White Rocks and Cornish hens, and we were doing the whole thing in like selective breeding. And when that ended, then all our Cornish hens came to our flock too. So
which is a really cool operation, because for people that don't know, like the Cornish cross that we buy to raise our meat, you like cannot make on your own, really. They have like this whole like secret chicken operation that is so like monitored that you can't even like really raise your own like true big meat bird. You know, they make it so hard to do it on your own.
Right. And you
on
can't
purpose.
You can't just take like a meat bird rooster, and or heritage is different, but like a Cornish cross, you can't just take a male and a female and breed them, because they don't really live long enough to
get to that.
They can't really breed because they're just so big,
so fat.
So, and so ironically our Cornish hens were the only ones that would go broody in our whole flock. So our Cornish hen had ended up sitting on some eggs and hatched out 3 chickens earlier in the year. So Dogbed wasn't alone. We had those 3, and they were teenagers at the time, like teenage chicks that were turning into chickens. So we put them with her because they had been free ranging, because they couldn't fit in any of our run. They just could get in and out, so they chose to be out because they didn't want to be with the big chickens. But finally they were big enough to put in at that time. So everything ended up working out well with that. So as of a month ago, we just had Dogbed the Easter egger, and then 2 barnyard mixed hens and a barnyard mixed rooster. And then I think like 2 weeks ago, I saw on Facebook, some on our like community page, some man was selling pullets.
Oh, the chicken
So
lady's
I
back.
know. And so our plan had been we're just gonna stick with like production. Like it was fun
Yes.
doing the rainbow layers, but we don't want to spend money. There's plenty of people we can get normal chickens from locally. Um, but always the hang up with that is the straight runs, because you hate culling the roosters for no
Right.
reason, and you only need, 5 chickens, but then you have to get like 10 chicks because they're straight run. So I had been internally stressing out about that, which I didn't need to, but
Well,
I was.
so what we do, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
If we have to cull a rooster, I just bake it and give it to the pig. Which I
Oh,
know it's like a
yeah.
lot of work to like do the whole process, but
But then it
if
turns
like
into, yeah.
at least it's like go somewhere.
Yeah. And that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I know it's like, and for farm people, culling chicks is like it's just part of it.
Yeah.
If you have nobody needs 35 roosters.
Yes.
That's just the thing. And when we raise our own meat, we also really don't need 35 more
Mhm.
roosters, that the meat is subpar.
Yeah.
So like it just is what it is.
Yeah. And it's not good for the roosters to have, it's stressful for them to have more than like one other rooster in their flock. Like they
Yeah,
don't
and the
like that
hens, the
either.
hens don't like that either.
Yeah. It's not healthy for the hens. It's not healthy for anyone.
No,
Um, so yeah,
it's
no,
just how it's supposed to be.
it's just part of the chicken life, unfortunately.
Yep.
Um, but so the dude, okay, so he was selling pullets. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of exactly what I need. And who would have thought here in the winter? I thought I wasn't going to get any eggs until the spring, because the other ones are a little bit too young to lay. I think they're like 4 months old. So I contacted, and he has black copper Marans, and there was another he had a couple other normal
Yeah.
breeds. And I get there and how do I say this? So just like we were talking earlier about how in a perfect world we would have like free range chickens and it would be awesome. But when
Yes.
you breed, you have to have them
In an
in
enclosure.
confinement. I mean, it is what
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
And I know that, and we had to do that too with our chickens when we were breeding. But so I go to this guy's house, and he has like 20 breeds of chickens, and they're in confinement, and I know that's how it's supposed to be, and chickens are dirty, messy, and they poop everywhere. But like
There's different levels to this
yeah.
though.
Yeah, it was when I
Didn't
got
seem
there, I was
healthy.
like, "Oh, is this going to be more of a rescue situation?" And I don't want to judge how other people have it, because it worked for him. But I got and the imagine like it was like a chicken tractor, essentially, like the size.
Yeah.
It was probably like a 3x2 little area with like
Oh my.
6 chickens in each one, and just caked with poop on the
Poop.
bottom, and it smelled awful, like ammonia. I mean, it was overpowering. And so I get there, and I'm torn between not wanting any and
Yeah.
wanting to take them all home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
what'd you
there.
do?
Yeah. So I'm there, and it's this nice old man, and he's an elderly man, and he likes chickens. He also bred
He likes
hunting
chickens.
dogs. So he bred chickens
Oh
and
gosh.
hunting dogs, and there's so many dogs, and they're all barking. And I'm like, these
Oh,
poor chickens probably hate their life and are so stressed out.
yeah.
It was a very strange situation. So all that to say, I ended up getting a black copper Marin pullet, and then making an impulsive decision. Instead of getting a Rhode Island Red like I had planned, he talked me into getting I'm sorry, I should, hopefully you can't hear my phone, it's
It's
going off.
okay.
But he has a passion project, and he was trying to breed black copper Marans with the Isa Browns, which
Yeah.
ironically, and in retrospect, I'm thinking this, he didn't have any Isa Browns because that's one that I wanted. I wanted just the Isa Browns because they are high production layers, and that was on my list of things I actually wanted. There were none of those available, but his passion project was to breed the Isa Browns with the Black Copper Marans to get a dark, frequent layer, which is a good thought. And I'm stressed out from all the dogs barking. There's like 80 dogs barking. It's smelling like ammonia. I have my kids with me, and
it's dirty.
It's dirty. I'm like, sure, I'll have one of those.
You're like, just give me the chickens. I gotta go.
Yeah. And so the other thing, my husband, long story short, my husband had our animal carrier for like small animals in his car, which is in the shop right now from when we moved our piglets. So I had to go to Dollar General and get a Rubbermaid and poke holes for this 45-minute drive with me and my kids. Did you not
have like a cardboard box or something you could throw them in?
Well, I actually did, but I'm like, these are like almost full-size birds.
Oh, they're like big.
Yeah, like they're like ready to lay. They were 5 months. And so yeah, I went with the Rubbermaid.
Was this a Craigslist find?
I mean, it was a Facebook page situation.
Usually Facebook's better. That sounds like a Craigslist situation.
Well, yeah, it was funny. He also had a black walnut tree, and I made the mistake of saying, "Oh, a black walnut tree. Like, I would love one of those."
Oh,
and he
Lord.
said, "Well, I need to pick them. You want to pick them for me?" And I was like, "Ha ha ha ha, you're joking." And he's like, "Hold on, I'll get a bag for you." And I'm like, "Oh boy."
You're like,
so
I gotta go.
I know. So I'm expecting like a Walmart bag. I'm like, okay, like if I get free walnuts out of it, that's cool too.
You're like, fine.
He comes out with an old feed bag. He's like, "Fill her up." I'm like, "I'm not leaving her.
Kids, hurry!"
Yes, with the chickens in a Rubbermaid bin.
The dogs are barking. The poop is everywhere. Old man's talking. You're like, "I have to make dinner, sir."
Yeah, exactly. So it was fine. I mean, I'm making it out to be worse than it was, but it wasn't a unique experience. So all that to say, now I have dog bed, the Easter egger. I have 2 barnyard mixes. I have a black copper Moran, and I have a white mix. Sorry, I sound like that old man. And you know what? On the way home,
walnuts.
Yeah, black walnuts, which I can't open. I got a nutcracker, and I can't open them anyway. But on the way home, I'm like, "Kids, what do you want to name our new birds?" And they settled on Flappy and Flappy. They're both named Flappy.
Oh, this is the best story. So after all of that, we came home with Flappy 1 and Flappy 2.
Yeah, we call it because somehow, again, nothing, now that I'm saying it out loud, none of this makes any sense. But the Isa Brown and the Black Copper Moran mix is white. Which neither of these birds are white. So it's white, so we call it Black Flappy and White Flappy. And so
I'm dead.
But it comes full circle because today White Flappy gave us our very first egg. She laid our very first egg almost for like 6 months.
Wait, White Flappy laid the brown egg?
Yes, White Flappy, because White Flappy, the Copper Moran Isa mix. She laid the first egg. I'm 99% sure. I mean, I didn't see it come out of her butt, but the day before I saw she was like in the coop, which she doesn't really do very often.
Looking for a laying spot.
Yeah. And there were a lot of little areas that I saw her like kind of hanging out in. And of course she laid in none of them. She laid right at the door of the coop to the, like, if it had been 3 inches more west, it would have been down the ramp. But it came and I got it and it's speckled.
You're back in business.
I'm back in business.
So what is that? 4 chickens? 3? What do you have?
We have 5 now.
5. So is that it? Are you going to wait till spring? You think you'll get more?
That's a good question. And I haven't fully decided yet. we want more leghorns.
Mm.
So I do think our last leghorns we had actually gotten from someone local here who bred them. By the end we had, I think, 4 leghorns. We had 2 that we had ordered and then 2 that we had gotten because we wanted more. And so we'll probably end up getting more leghorns. When the spring comes, I'm probably gonna, if I find the right fit, I might get more because I do want some Easter eggers.
I mean, yeah, 5 is a good family number though. Like
yes.
that's enough. Like we talked about on the last podcast, focusing more on like the homestead life than more like the farm selling stuff life, you know? So 5 is a good, like, that's a good, but we all know chicken math will come into play.
Yeah, it just brought me so much joy. I loved seeing them. And I'm sure I'll still love it. I mean, there is something about just like eggs that you helped grow. I mean, I guess that's a weird way to say it, but
that is, I mean, but yes, like that, it just feels like that's like one of the things you got to do, you know, you got to have your own eggs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I've been doing, now that I have a smaller flock, I've been getting the good feed. I've been mixing in. I put oatmeal in there, and I put the cracked corn, and I put the sunflower seeds, and
do all the good treats.
Yeah, and I mix it up. And yeah,
You've got the spark back too.
Yes, exactly. I'm taking even better care of them. And you know, one thing that I am trying for the first time, I am doing a light. I thought I was against the artificial light to try to keep them laying, but I'm just so desperate. I'm fiending for eggs, Molly.
Yeah,
I'm desperate
do it.
for eggs.
We used to do the heat lamp in the chicken coop. That my only concern was the fire hazard, but that, I mean, it was so big and spacious. There wasn't like chicken mulch and stuff like right under it. Like I didn't feel like it was going to catch on fire. And the only reason we don't now is because that's not a chicken coop anymore. Like I'm all for it. Like I would rather have all the eggs and then move on to the next round of chickens, you know?
Yeah, that's how I'm kind of feeling too. And I'm also afraid of the fire because Nate had a family member that their chicken coop caught on fire and it was a terrible experience. So I found a LED light that's solar powered. So I'm trying that, and it was super cheap.
So there's no plug.
Right. But also it's a cheap one, so the power doesn't charge for very long. So I didn't want it on all night, but the power is only charged for like 2 hours. So even when I charge it all
That'll
day.
be interesting though to see like if that encourages them still.
And it could be totally unrelated, and it probably is unrelated. But the day after I started it is the day that I got the egg.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Could be a coincidence. But
that's good to note though. Like that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually the first. Every time that we had grown out chicks like that, usually even when they're like 6 months old, we don't get our first eggs until spring. So that had been our first like pullet that laid during like the short daytime window. So that was interesting.
What's funny is like how we both wanted rainbow egg, you know, layers, and then we both ended up the favorites like the white leghorn for consistency, good eggs.
Yes. Oh, we love them. I'm excited to get some back. I really am.
That is exciting.
Yeah. Well, we made it to an hour.
We have been talking forever.
This
is going to be fun to listen back and see.
And only one curse word this time.
Only one. Okay, we'll do better. I will do better.
You know, I think I'm going to chance it, and I'm not going to say it's explicit. I don't think anybody's going to notice.
I'm sorry if there's anyone listening. Don't repeat me. Do as I say, not as I do, children.
Exactly. Well, that's the perk of not being monetized, though. We can kind of do whatever we want.
That's funny.
Right. Well, thank you guys for hanging in there with us. We would really love it if you subscribe and like, depending on what platform you're on. On Spotify, you can rate us a 5-star. But don't bother if you're going to rate a 1-star.
Don't even.
No,
Keep
I
going.
don't want to hear that.
None of that. Just Keep scrolling.
Yeah, keep on moving. But it really helps us because this is new and we're just starting to get in the algorithm, and all the listens, all the watches, all the upvotes and comments, all that really does help us.
It does.
Um,
All the
so
support.
yeah, that's one way that you can support us completely for free. It only takes a moment, because we really like doing this and we really do want more people to listen, because I love listening to these things and I do think
Me too.
some people might like it.
And we have a lot of informative, good things to talk about coming up, you know?
Yeah, we do have a plan to be more educational.
Mm.
We'll still have these stories,
Even,
but
yes, the mix of all the things.
yes, exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. So you can follow me on Instagram at With My Hands Homestead, and Molly at The Feltz Farm.
Mm-hmm. And then our newest
Yes.
account, Farm Bells, Belles,
Yes.
bells, like
Thank you.
Southern bells.
Yes, Southern Bells. With an underscore, right? Farm
With an underscore.
Bells.
Yes.
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 Well, but thank you guys. Please give us any feedback, give us ideas for what you want to hear. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.